Energy makes your possibilities possible. And at Southern Company, we're committed to ensuring your energy is there when you need it most. A commitment we have the privilege to keep. Southern Company, building the future of energy.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Last hour of the week for me from Radio Row here in the College Football Hall of Fame, Atlanta, Georgia, SEC Football Media Days 2025 coming to an end. Mike Elko will take a few more questions in the main room, and that will be it here from the ATL. But we got a lot to do over the last hour. JD PicKell is going to join us in 30 minutes talking some ball as we do every week during the football season. We're going to do it in person this time around coming up at 2:30. Appreciate you hanging out with us here. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Earlier this week, all the SEC media was asked to rank the order of finish as well as the all-conference teams. We'll learn all of that tomorrow, which I'm sure we'll hit on the show, but I want to do kind of a little preview of that, plus some LSU guys that I think I'm a little bit bullish on that could make those teams. I think that LSU will probably have three guys that make the first team or the second team all-conference. I think Aaron Nussmeier absolutely will. First or second team, probably first. Whit Weeks absolutely will, probably first. And I think Harold Perkins will make it on name recognition, maybe second team. The other wild card that I think could garner first team is Barian Brown at returner, because he's obviously set the SEC record for kickoff return touchdowns. He is a household name. He did all that at Kentucky. Now comes to LSU. On that part of the ballot, he may be a guy that gets it. So that would be my fourth pick. I don't think any of the LSU offensive linemen are going to get it. I don't know that any of the wide receivers are going to make it. Aaron Anderson had a great year last year. Chris Hilton came to media days, and that always helps to get some votes. I don't think Nick Anderson, coming off a year where he was hurt a lot, is going to make that list. So I don't think there. I don't think LSU on the defensive line has anybody that's going to jump off the page there. Patrick Payton could do it potentially. But I think that you're limited to that group on the first team, and I think there's a good chance that those guys could make the first team at the end as well. But I want to talk about some guys that I do think could be all SEC players in December while they are not here in July. The first is one I mentioned, Patrick Payton. I am so bullish on his upside as a pass rusher. I think Patrick Payton may be a first-team All-SEC player if he puts all of that together. And look, I'm basing a little bit of this on the fact that Kevin Peoples took two guys in Savion Jones and Braden Swinson who really had not done anything in 7 combined years of college football. They just weren't very productive players. Swinson at Oregon and LSU, Savion Jones at LSU, and he had both of those guys playing really good football last year, and the NFL took note. They actually took Savion Jones in front of Braden Swinson. And so you take Patrick Payton's skill set, which is better than Savion Jones and Braden Swinson considerably, and you let Kevin Peoples work to develop that, I think he could be a big-time player. I'm thinking 10, 11, 12 sack potential for Patrick Payton if it all clicks. And that's what you need, because you're not going to be a championship team if you can't get after the passer. And for LSU's faults on defense last year, and they had plenty, they could get after the passer at times, and they made life miserable for Ole Miss because they rushed the passer like crazy, and Jackson Dart paid for that. He was banged up that whole game. And Patrick Payton could be a dude that I think gets 2 first-team All-SEC honors. Another guy on the defensive side, and I'm basing this on reactions I've gotten from asking questions about this player. I mean, vividly recall in the spring asking a player about DJ Pickett and seeing, and then you hear Chris Hilton talk here at Media Days, and Matt asked him, like, who's the toughest guy to deal with on the other side? And he's like, oh, Pickett. I mean, I think he looks really skinny when I go out to practice, but you can't teach 6'4" with long arms, and he can run like crazy, and he plays the ball really well. There's a chance he's just a star. And I think everybody in Baton Rouge would love, love, love to see that. He's not going to get any preseason love because he's a true freshman. There are some people that follow recruiting that are going to know who that is, but most people don't. But it doesn't take a lot for an LSU defensive back to garner some significant attention. And LSU is starving for that at this point. They hadn't covered anybody in 2 years. And I think Pickett is going to play. I think he's going to play early. And I think there's a chance that he could be an all-SEC player because there's some famousness that comes with being a 5-star and a top-ranked corner in the country. And I think Pickett could parlay that with some really good play, and everybody could pay attention. And if LSU has a really good year, I think you might be able to look in that direction. So I like Patrick Payton and DJ Pickett on the defensive side to potentially be all-league guys. And as I look to the offense, this is just on potential. I don't know how exactly they're going to use him, but I know that he's a tough guy to deal with, and that's Trey'Dez Green. Brian Kelly's offenses absolutely, positively love to use the tight end, and he has churned tight ends into the NFL at a remarkable rate over the last decade. Been some great ones up there at Notre Dame. Still playing in the NFL. And then Mason Taylor came through and was the most productive tight end in the history of LSU football in 3 years under Brian Kelly. And while Trey'Dez Green doesn't fit exactly the mold of that, and he's more kind of a split-out wide receiver, the production is absolutely there, and he's such a problem. And when Mason Taylor opted out of the bowl game, Trey'Dez Green went in there, and boom, 2 touchdowns. All I know is I don't even have to pull out this college football magazine that I've been working through all week and go through the depth chart of every SEC defense. I don't have to do it, and I can tell you they don't have anybody in their secondary that's 6'7". They don't have anybody in their linebacking core that's 6'7". There may be a 6'7" pass rusher out there somewhere. I'm not going to take the time to look for it, and I don't care. But nobody has his height and athleticism on any defense in America. It doesn't exist. And that just gives you a monster matchup problem. And if LSU just sticks to what Brian Kelly's done his whole career and what Mason Taylor just did and feed Trey'Dez Green the football on third downs and in the red zone, I think he could be a first-team all-league player. 4 or 5-star, depending on what you were looking at, what service you were using. Lightly used last year, trying to put on weight, learning to block. One of the things I like to hear about Trey'Dez Green is that he was not a good blocker last year, but he was a willing blocker. He was trying to get better. And he's putting on more weight, and he ditched the basketball thing. That's just all that's going to do is take you off the football field, and you're going to lose weight playing basketball, is what it is. Basketball players lose weight every year. But he puts weight on, continues to be a willing blocker, and I think you can use him more often. Bauer Sharp's going to get his. He's going to have his turn. And he's got a role, and he's more physical right now than Trey'Dez is, and he's probably a better blocker right now than Trey'Dez is, but he's also going to be out there because he can catch the ball and run a little bit as well. But Trey'Dez is going to get an opportunity to put up some big numbers, and I think there's a real chance he could be a first-team all-league player when the dust settles. So again, like for me, Nussmeier, Weeks, Perkins, maybe Berrien Brown, or Xavion Thomas even at kick returner on the first team, but guys that I'm thinking that could potentially come from off the radar and blossom into something really special that could be a first team. Patrick Payton on the edge, DJ Pickett at corner, Trey'Dez Green at tight end. Give me those 3 guys as potential, not July first teamers, but maybe a December first team all-SEC selection for those guys. Well, LSU football there to kick off hour number 2, our final hour of the week here from Radio Row in the College Football Hall of Fame. J.D. PicKell is going to be with us here in about 20 minutes from right now. We'll step aside, and we will come back, talk a little bit about the Hogs. Sam Pittman was at the podium just a little bit ago. LSU does play Arkansas in Tiger Stadium later on this fall, so we'll talk about Arkansas when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, you don't have to move to improve your closet situation, your bathroom situation. If you've got some issues, whether it's something that's malfunctioning or something that's just old and dated and you want to update it, let David Duvall and his team come in and handle it. It's such a seamless process. You work with David from start to finish. I love telling you about local companies where you're going to be involved with the owner. They're going to take pride in what they do, and David does. He told me the first time we ever sat down, I don't do things the quick way to get the check and move on to the next job. I do things the right way and leave the competition behind. That's what David Duvall is going to promise you. So if you want a custom closet, you want a tub to shower conversion, you want an entirely new bathroom from the vanity to the floors all the way through the tub and shower, David can do that as well. Check out his great work online. See those pictures. Check out the reviews from satisfied clients. And then start with that free consultation. That part doesn't cost you a cent. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Check him out online, onebathandclosets.com.
Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
Mike Elko walks off the stage, and just like that, every single coach has passed through the big room here over the course of the 2025 SEC Football Media Days. SEC Network stat is still up and running. I think Feinbaum will probably be there this evening, and they generally look and see who the last print writer standing is in the big room. Will not be me. We'll be out of here by that time, but we've got a little bit to go here on this final edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from SEC Football Media Days. Matt has a show coming up from 3 to 6 on AFR. That'll be from here as well. I want to talk about Arkansas, last team that I have not mentioned on the show this week, and a team that is making the rounds today, and a team that is going to be on LSU's schedule this year. And this shocked me. It really did. It shocked me when I was doing my research on Arkansas. They were 10th in the country in total offense last year. 10th in the country. I would have thought they had a better chance to be 10th in the conference. But with Taylor Green, Bobby Petrino, they were 10th in the country in total offense. Now, I looked a little bit deeply into that, and anybody who has a really good offense is going to beat up on some bad teams. That's not unique to Arkansas. But they had 70 points and 687 yards on Arkansas Pine Bluff. They rolled up 673 yards on Mississippi State. They played Texas Tech and had 559 yards. Not a great Texas Tech team. And then when they stepped really up in class and played some of the more talented teams on their schedule, LSU, they only had 278 yards of offense that day. That was probably the best game LSU played last year. It was up there in Fayetteville. Then you have Texas, 231 yards against the Longhorns. They struggled against that really good defense. Texas had a great defense last year. They put some teams in a blender. They played Texas A&M, only had 379 yards in that game, which is not an astronomical amount by any stretch of the imagination. Really the only reason, though, that we're sitting here today and Sam Pittman is still walking around in a red tie is because of the game against Tennessee. If they don't win that game, then you're looking at a team that only wins 5 games in the regular season. And I think that Arkansas at that point would have moved on. It felt like they should have anyway. The buyout was huge, and they were like, we're not going to spend that kind of money in an era of NIL. Let's just spend it on the players and not buy out Pittman, who got things off to a pretty good start in his tenure. But the Tennessee win, I think, injected some positivity and some life into Arkansas, and they just felt like they were going to ride it out one more year. And if you heard in our first hour, we talked to Chuck Oliver, who talks about college football on a show all day, every day. So that's all he does. He was like, yeah, nobody really is happy that Pittman's the coach there. It doesn't seem like Pittman is all fired up about it. He was kind of down on his luck last year. Had some health issues physically, not just like he had aches and pains, had surgery, and he just didn't seem happy. Nobody in Arkansas seems real happy about it, and it just feels like there's just no juice. The 2 teams that are here today, Arkansas and Kentucky, just have no juice. You've got coaches that have been there for a little bit that haven't won much of anything the last couple of years, and it just doesn't feel like there's any real hope for a shot of life for either one of them. The hope for Arkansas is that Taylor Green really takes a big step, because he does have all the tools that you need to be a great quarterback. He's really fast. He's got good quicks. His arm is pretty good. But there were times last year where he just did not play at all, well at all. But Bobby Petrino can take really athletic dudes and move the ball up and down the field. They've got to run the ball better. They lost some key pieces at wide receiver. Isaiah Satania moved over to Oklahoma. And their offensive line has got to be way better. It was terrible last year, and they have only one starter back from it, so maybe that's a good thing. You look at their offensive line and you go, well, they don't have any starters back. Well, all the starters they had last year were terrible, so you don't want those guys out there. They made life really tough on Taylor Green. They could not run the ball the way that they wanted to. Rocket Sanders had moved on to South Carolina. They've got to run the ball better to help Taylor Green, because they're not going to be a high percentage passing team. That's not Taylor Green's MO. He can make some big plays in the passing game, especially when he extends plays running around, but he's not going to be efficient, dotting the ball all over the field, just moving the chain steadily, kind of like Garrett Nussmeier does. That's just not what he's going to do. Their defense last year was not good against the pass, 110th in the country in passing defense. That makes life pretty tough. And because they were so bad against the pass, teams didn't really run the ball against them a lot. So their rushing statistics look better than they probably are. But this is a team that returns 3 starters on defense, 3 starters on offense. They've had a lot of guys transfer out. There's just not a lot of juice behind Arkansas. And you look at their schedule, And it's just really tough. Like, they got to go to Ole Miss. They got to go to Tennessee. They have to go to LSU. They have to go to Texas. That's 4 games right there on the road that I just don't think they can win. So the question is, what can you do at home? I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame. And then can they beat Missouri, Mississippi State, or Auburn? I'm shrugging. Like, this feels like a team that could have it go really, really far south is what I'm thinking. Like, I can see a world where Memphis beats them in Memphis in the non-conference and they don't win a league game. Like, I think they'll beat Mississippi State. That game's in Fayetteville. They crushed Mississippi State last year in Starkville, but this is a different Mississippi State defense. That one couldn't have been worse. So 2-10 is out there for Arkansas. And if it is 2-10 and things do go south, and we're talking about this from a local perspective with LSU and Arkansas don't play until November the 15th. Are you playing a Bobby Petrino-led Arkansas team at that point? Like, is that what you're doing? And then does Arkansas pivot after they let Sam Pittman go and pay that buyout? And do they hire Bobby Petrino to be the head coach? Like, is that did Bobby Petrino, did Sam Pittman hire his replacement? That's kind of what the general thought may be. The upside on Arkansas is beating Alabama A&M, beating Alabama State, winning at Memphis, beating Mississippi State at home, and then probably picking off one more between Texas A&M, Auburn, Missouri, and that gets you to 5. Like, I can't get Arkansas to 6 wins. I just, at this point, I can't do it. I can get you to 5 if I work, but I would bet 2 or 3 before 5. And it feels like the Arkansas administration made an error in judgment in keeping Sam Pittman around, because you're going to put the program back another year, because I just don't see a way they can dig out of this rough. They don't have the talent. And it's really, really, really hard to get the talent to Arkansas. None of it's in state, and you're in the baddest block around in the SEC, and it's just a hard place to win. And Sam Pittman did a good job early in his time there, but it just feels to me like it's off the rails and there's just no juice. And if you're Arkansas and you got John Calipari across the hall, and you feel like if you kind of divert some of the funds that you might be paying to a linebacker or a wide receiver or safety or quarterback, and you can go get a power forward that's going to go 3rd in the NBA draft, you might do that. And you got a baseball team that's knocking on the door, you might want to fund that. And I just don't know where football comes on the pecking order for Arkansas. And maybe that's why they decided to stick with Sam Pittman. We don't want to invest the money in the buyout and then pay a new staff when we really know that we're not committed to that fully anyway. And we're going to go with the other sports that are not as big a revenue generators, but we have a better chance to win at. Every athletic department's got to look at that a little bit more differently. And that's the case at Arkansas. Like, what do you want to be? What is your expectation? And I just don't feel great about what this is going to do. I was reading the overview in Lindy's magazine about Arkansas. It said the Razorbacks had a substantial amount of roster churn, meaning a ton of players will be in their first year in a new system. There was no easily identifiable go-to wide receiver during spring drills, so summer and camp are critical for Green to find that guy. Defensive depth is not a strength, so staying healthy is of the utmost concern. So you're telling me we don't know who we're going to throw the ball to in an offense that we need to throw the ball with, and we don't have enough good players on defense. That's like basically what I'm reading. And with that schedule, having those 4 road games in the league, that's just not going to be a tenable situation for Arkansas. So maybe they'll shock me, and I'll come back in December and be like, yeah, I was dead wrong on the Hogs. I just don't think I am. There are a few teams that I don't like the outlook on paper. I told you early in the week that I don't like Tennessee. I don't like Kentucky from today. Mississippi State, we talked to Brian Haydad yesterday, and he kind of gave you the thoughts on that. They're just not there from a talent perspective. And then Arkansas comes to mind. They're going to be picked towards the bottom of the SEC. So that's a game that LSU gets in Tiger Stadium on November the 15th. It should be a very, very winnable game. Arkansas is at Texas the next week, and then they finish with Missouri. So Hogs, I think, are going to be a little bit up against it here for the 2025 season. And I think they'll be in the market for a head coach. The question is he already on their offensive sideline right now? Do they go with Bobby Petrino? All right, we're here in Atlanta, Georgia, SEC Football Media Days 2025. Huge shout-out to our sponsors. That, of course, is is Parish Construction and Roofing, Relief Windows, and Rev. They've made this entire week possible. Our Thursday shows brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Some of the best beef in America is just outside your door. So 30 miles away from Baton Rouge in Ethel. It's at Sagrera Farms. If you want a freezer full of tender, flavorful, prime Angus beef, everything that Sean does is prime, then go to Sagrera Farms and just pick it out yourself. You don't have to put a deposit down. If you don't like it, you don't pay for it. But I promise you, I've had some of the ground beef. I've had the ribeye. It is phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. You can have restaurant quality, phenomenal prime steak right there in your home if you contact Sagrera Farms for their premium Angus beef. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. It's been a great week. I told you that Mike Elko has just come off the stage. The Texas A&M players will take their shot at the podium right there, and that's it for SEC Football Media Days. It's been a fast and furious 4 days. It's been a blast for me to come for the first time since 2013. Last time I was here, Johnny Manziel was here. This is the Arch Manning, and I told you at the top of the show, LSU brought a ton of juice, but we're not going to just let go of the entirety here and let go of the rope. We got one more segment to go here with J.D. PicKell. I will bounce out of here a little bit early and let Beck and Cassie handle it, take it or leave it this afternoon so we can get over to the airport. But it's been an awesome week. Appreciate the crew at Guarantee and our great sponsors for making this week possible. Hope you all have enjoyed our content here from Radio Row. All season long, during football season, on Wednesdays, we talked to J.D. PicKell, host of The Hard Count with On 3 Sports. He's here. I looked over and saw him on Monday. I said, we got to chat in person. So we're going to make that happen here after we take a time out. We'll come back and talk with J.D. PicKell of On 3 Sports when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single purchase, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You're not going to find better than that in the marketplace. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. How about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance? No one wants to take their car in and sit on the service aisle all day. You don't have to do that. You can have them come pick your car up, take it to be serviced. They'll get you a loaner. You get on about your day. When they're done, they bring it right back to you. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price. That's the Genesis model. Just go to the website. Check out the inventory. Everything they've got on the lot is right there online. Their airline at Piku across from Women's Hospital. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
Back here, SEC Media Days, the final day, 2025 edition from Atlanta, Georgia. Been an awesome week thus far. I walked in on Monday, LSU's getting ready to rock. I look across the room. There's J.D. PicKell.
Here
I've
we
been
are.
talking to the guy every week for 3 years, never seen him.
I want
Here
to
he is.
touch your face and make sure you're real. I want to just size you up in real life. This is dope, dude. This is so cool to not be talking over the phone, to be in person with you.
It is.
At long last.
It is.
Awesome.
That feels like it was a month ago.
Yes. Yes.
You're an energy guy. Like, how's the energy on Thursday afternoon for you?
This is not like this is not to brag or to be weird. I probably legitimately consume north of 800 milligrams of caffeine a day. And that's not an exaggeration.
That's a Hester level.
It's not good. How many, does he do a lot of caffeine?
Oh my gosh, the guy just hammers coffee. He does the morning show, hammers 3 cups during the morning show, and then he's got to go do 4 hours of Sirius.
Psycho.
So he's on coffee just time and time again. I'll tell you this, the vibes downstairs this morning, not good.
Really?
It's not good.
What would be the comp? Just like funeral level? Or
I said it's like church. Like, people are whispering. It's very quiet. Like, there's just no juice down there. And I think you got to bring some heavy hitters on the last day. Like, it's just a tough scene with Arkansas and Kentucky, to me, trying to shoulder the weight of a Thursday after everybody's been here since Sunday night.
Need a little more Pentecostal church in there.
Yeah.
Some more little Baptist church in there.
Or Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah.
Either way. Who'd you talk to this week that you were like, man, I'm pulling for that guy now? Like, who surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a surprise as much as I was just like curious to hear where he was at mentally. Jackson Arnold came and sat down. Mm-hmm. And you talk about a guy who had a tough go of it last year. I mean, this time last year, we're sitting at Media Days in Dallas like, hey, does Oklahoma have their next guy at quarterback? This guy was a 5-star. There was this, I think, thought for a lot of us of, well, Dylan Gabriel left for Oregon. That must tell us what we need to know about Jackson Arnold. Then he gets benched. And then he's telling us during his interview, he's like, I had people in my DMs telling me to take my own life. And I'm like, dude, to be any age and to have someone telling you that, let alone to be a college kid and trying to figure out life in general, as we all still are, but like just made you feel for the guy. And also it made it so much more impressive to me, the bounce back he had against Alabama. And I was like, that's a guy where I don't know exactly if Auburn is going to be an SEC championship contender this year, but I root for Jackson Arnold after that conversation.
Let's flesh both of those sides out, the Oklahoma side and the Jackson Arnold side. We'll start with Arnold. Like, how do you feel about that freeze? He's got great receivers. I know that. But what do you feel like Auburn, they got to get out of neutral under freeze. It's been completely in neutral for 2 years.
If you're an Auburn fan, you're kind of like feeling like you've been catfished a little bit for the last couple of years. You're like, hey, we signed up for one thing, and 2 years in, we have not been that thing that we signed up for, which is playing good offensive football. But the thing that I think is exciting if you're an Auburn fan is now in year 3, everything you talk about with unquantifiables of standards, cultures, way of doing things, all the cliches, like those should be in a good place now. And they do get over talked about. They probably do get overemphasized at a thing like this. But I also think they really matter. I think they're really important. And I think there's no way to air fry those kind of things into your football team. And so I do believe in Hugh Freeze as a culture builder. I think everyone that's played for him or has been on his staff has nothing but good things to say about that facet he brings. So it really does come back to that side of things being stable. Not to say it was bad a year ago, but I mean, again, you just can't account for it. And then also your quarterback, I think, being maybe more philosophically aligned. So we hear with Hugh Freeze, like you hear about Peyton Thorne, son of a coach, thinks very black and white about college football and the game of football. Jackson Arnold, a little more of a gray area guy, kind of me and Jackson Arnold have that going. I kind of operate in the gray a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So I like the way that lines up, and that's exciting for Auburn.
Oklahoma, I mean, I can't imagine a worse offense than what they put out there all of last year. And now, interestingly enough, as I talked about yesterday on my show, like Jackson Arnold starting the SEC, LSU's got Bauer Sharp and Nick Anderson. Mississippi State brought one of their wide receivers from Oklahoma last year. Like all those pieces have kind of spread out, and they're trying to rebuild everything. And I guess it kind of falls on John Mateer. A lot of people are really pro on John Mateer, but I've heard some detractors go, "I only had the schedule last year. I don't really know." What do you see?
Schedule's brutal. I want to go back to what you said at the top, though, about the offense not getting any worse. Shout out the Oklahoma fans that would show up every single week for an offense averaging 13 points a game. You know how resilient you got to be to show up every single Saturday and say, "All right, we're getting maybe 2 touchdowns. Here we go, baby. Boomer Sooner." Like that takes some real willpower. Yeah. I love John Mateer. It's the lettuce. It's the swag. I love all of that. Just to be 100% transparent. Also, I love the fact that he's got his OC with him. Like I think we see a lot of these new quarterbacks go places, and maybe it's a little bit of a growing pain early on. Dylan Gabriel last year, the first couple of weeks were like, "What's up with Oregon?" I think it takes a second to process. That shouldn't be the case for John Mateer. Like he's trying to figure out how to get lined up with, chemistry wise with his playmakers and figure out where he likes to eat. Norman, like he's not worrying about, okay, where am I going with the football in this particular play?
It's A&M Day, and this is year 2 for Elko. It started like a house on fire, and then it crashed. Yeah. I mean, what's reasonable for that program this year?
Can I be unreasonable with that answer? I think college football play was reasonable. Like they were a game away last year from playing for the conference. They win that game. Big if, but to even be in a play-in game for the playoff, I think is wildly overlooked at an event like this. I also think we forget that Marcel Reed wasn't their guy until like mid-October against LSU. Yeah, I know that strikes a chord. That strikes a chord, but I mean, he just brought so much more juice. I trust Elko on the defensive side. I know Le'Veon Moss has been in the news this week, but if he's on the field for them, he's a really good football player and is a walking first down every 2 touches. To me, I keep going back to all the clues with the A&M about returning production, they're top 10 in the country. I mentioned Elko. I mentioned the quarterback. There's a lot there where I'm like, if last year's the jumping off point, are they really not going to be a team that they're going to take a two-win drop? I don't see that happening.
So I'm transparent with my listeners. Like I'm not the X's and O's guy. I'm not the film guy. I didn't even play high school football, so I'm not trying to dive into that. I can do stats. Sure. I can give you an opinion.
Let's go.
But one of my prep things for this week was I just went and watched the highlight reel of all the quarterbacks. Yeah. What do I see? And I have a preconceived notion going into that, and then what does the tape actually look like to me? Marcel Reed's highlight tape looked better than I wanted it to from last year. Like I was like, I thought he just ran because that's all he did against LSU. He threw one pass in that game and just ran all over him. He made some throws as a first-year player in the SEC, and it feels like there is upside there, which disappoints me greatly.
He's got some pop downfield. Like a couple of those throws in the Auburn game. I think the USC game he made a couple throws. Like my big question is who's wide receiver one? Is Casey Concepcion? Not Conception. Concepcion. Is he a true like wide receiver one? Because I think a lot of the frustrations for Aggie fans a year ago was like, hey, we like Noah Thomas, but if he is our wide receiver one, I don't know if that's a winning formula. So can Concepcion plus Bussy plus the run game, again, there's a lot to like for me.
You figure okay, we'll coach the defense up and they'll be pretty good. They usually have dudes on that side of the ball, so we'll see about them. Is there a team that you feel like people are not talking well enough about? Like mine was Florida. I like the way they look on paper. Lagway's 6-1 as a starter last year, and the one loss they were beating Georgia when he got hurt.
Yeah,
But I'm on Florida. Like, who do you think? Their schedule's terrible, so they might not have a great record. But I like their teams.
The overall product.
Like?
Yeah, the overall product should be better. I am a little surprised there's not more. I guess we'll see today when this media poll officially comes out. I guess maybe by the time folks are hearing this, maybe it's out. But I think LSU's a national title kind of team. Like, I'm probably going to pick them to win the whole thing. And I don't know if there will, like, sometimes you see like different bunches of picks, around this time of year. Like a couple people believe in Oklahoma, not to win the league necessarily, but I'm just using them as an example. I wonder where LSU is in this whole discussion, because I'm believing the lip service that we're getting here from LSU this early in this week.
So let me ask you this question, because again, it felt like a month ago that LSU was here. It felt like LSU was the most pronounced team here. They were talking about national championships. They were talking about Clemson. Like, it just, maybe that's just because I'm covering them, but it just felt like they created a lot of juice right out of the gate.
A lot of bravado. Yeah. A lot of bravado. But it didn't feel, this is not to knock Diego Pavia, it didn't feel misplaced. You know what I mean? Like, I think there was a lot of reason behind what they were saying. And that's, again, Diego Pavia, I think is exactly what Vandy needs. But he was saying some things where you're like, all right, man, you talk about Vandy winning a national title and you winning the Heisman. That's awesome. Let's roll. Yeah. However, I have to squint harder to see that. I think LSU winning a national championship, to me, like, you got 136 teams, so it's not necessarily, the easiest thing to do in the world, but I also don't have a hard time thinking that could be a possibility at all. I loved it personally.
Here's my fear with LSU is they get to Clemson and there's 85,000 and it's loud and there's 2 first-round picks on that defensive line and LSU's offensive line can't block them.
Yeah.
And then you're 0-1. Like, if you can't block them with this revamped offensive line and you don't run the ball, which you didn't do last year, and then Nussmeier's under some pressure and they start to get some heat. It looks like the second half against A&M last year when they couldn't block them because they got behind the 8 ball on the road. Like, that's the fear. It wouldn't exist if they weren't playing that game, but they are. So that's my concern.
This is where Joe Sloan, whatever you're paying him, this is where he earns it. Yeah. This is where, hey, we may not have the advantage on the line of scrimmage. That's okay. Went to the portal, got some guys. Get the ball on the perimeter. Let's manufacture some explosives. Let's find a way where if they're the more talented outfit up front, let's find a way to circumnavigate that, to use an ACT word or whatever here. So I think that is a Joe Sloan game for me.
Let's talk about Bama. For a decade and a half at this event, like, they were the story. It was Saban, and they were just going to be what they were. Yeah. And now you can kind of question that because they lost 4 games. Like, where are we with Kalen DeBoer in that program?
I was really intrigued by going back to the big room there. When we're talking about coaches at the podium. A lot of discussion around going back to the unquantifiables. Growth, consistency, doing our thing. There wasn't a lot of like, hey, are you good enough on defense? Hey, are you good enough at receiver? Are you good? It wasn't like talent questions necessarily, which got me thinking, I'm like, if it really is just about those things, the pressure even more firmly is on Kalen DeBoer. Yeah. I think like there's a lot, because honestly, quite frankly, he's majored in that. Like, looking at Washington, they were like, what, 8-0 in 1-score games, that national title year? Yeah. That is the unquantifiables. And so you talk about that. You also talk about quarterback. I'm like, well, that's double jeopardy. I don't really watch Jeopardy, but I imagine that fits here when we talk about double jeopardy. Like, the quarterback is your thing, Kalen DeBoer. That's kind of what you made your name doing. So whatever happens this year, for better or for worse, you're kind of that Uncle Ben territory. It's like, hey, with great power, Peter, great responsibility, with great roster talent, Coach, Great expectations.
The guy that followed Saban was always going to have a really, really hard job, and here it is. And I mean, you lost 4 games last year. That doesn't happen in Tuscaloosa, or so they think. You stumble out of the gates this year, it's going to be a pressure cooker there in T-Town. Last one. You talked to some coaches this week. How do you feel like they feel about the what's all going on? They're all getting questions about it. I mean, my thing is it's a really hard job to manage a roster, to keep people around, to deal with money that's not yours. Like, I mean, how do you feel like the coaches as a whole are handling the whole situation?
I'm so glad you said that, because I think that gets wildly overlooked.
Yeah.
It's just really freaking hard to do what they're doing. Like, it's really hard to win a national championship. People are dunking on Brian Kelly, and I'm like, well, you know, it took Kirby a minute, and now he's won 2. It took Ryan Day a long time, and they just won 1 last year. It took Harbaugh 9 years. So I think the toughest part about it, and maybe it's what you were alluding to, just the lack of structure. Like, I think we look to them to be guys with answers, and they're like, well, we think we have answers, but we can't all get aligned on one answer. And even if we do have one answer, there's no one to put it into practice. And we all want to win games and protect our jobs and feed our families. So we do what we got to do. And so the NIL thing that's happening with, you know, the clearinghouse coming through and deals being good or not good. I am so fascinated to see what comes of that, because I think there's also a part of the group here that's like, well, we don't want you to, you know, we like speed limits. We don't want speeding tickets, though. So let's, you know, how do we figure that out?
All right, man. We'll let you get out of here. We'll let you get home, and I'll probably give you next week off, and then August starts and camp starts, and you're probably going to be in the rotation pretty quickly.
That makes so I was holding my breath. I was like, you know, you never want to assume that you're invited to the party, but I have enjoyed that party every fall, and I'm very excited to, it sounds like, maybe have a seat at the table.
Talking Season Series, JD PicKell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports. Check him out on YouTube. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you.
Coming back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show, live from Radio Row right here in Atlanta. It's SEC Media Days 2025.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
Welcome back in a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharper with you. Look, I was in the studio all morning long. I had so much fun. I wasn't leaving. Beck tried to kick me out. Well, I'm here. We're taking over for the last 10 minutes or so right here. Me and Jacob Beck, as him and Hunt Palmer normally do every day. We're going to close this thing out with a little take it or leave it. Take it away, Mr. Beck.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it. Alrighty, first one here. I guess before we get started, I'll mention Flight by Yingling. I do not have the talking points that Hunt does, but I can tell you I have had Flight by Yingling. I've had actually quite a few of them. They're really good. You can buy them at any store that sells, pretty much any store that sells alcohol. You can find them there. Flight by Yingling, really good light beer. All right, first one here. The ESPYs last night. Take it or leave it.
Okay, so this is a multifaceted question here.
It is.
Am I taking that I watched it, or am I taking that I liked it?
That you liked it.
Leave it. I'm going to leave it. Watched the ESPYs last night. Thought Shane Gillis was excellent. I thought his jokes were really funny. I'm glad he kind of pushed the envelope a little bit more than a lot of the other hosts would. At times, as expected. I enjoy that. I think a lot of people are a little bit too easily offended nowadays. I love that Shane wanted to have a little fun with it. As far as the ESPYs itself, I didn't really enjoy it. Like I was telling you during break, like I don't need an impromptu like music performance. I'm cool with it. However, let them perform a whole song. Like they would have these different musicians come out and they're performing and they're going for like 30 to 45 seconds and then they're just kind of rushed off stage. Like I didn't really know what I was watching, what I was looking at. I thought the nominees were fine. I thought most of the speeches were good. Like overall, I think it was one of the weaker ones, but I thought Gillis was good.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't watch a lot of it. I thought the opening monologue was great. And then the overall, like as a show, it's going to go pretty much how you expect in terms of like the awards and all that stuff. It was cool to see. Some of the people that won. Who was it that won the Arthur Ashe Award?
It was the Penn State, the coach, right?
I think so.
What's her name?
Yeah,
I'm forgetting her name, but that's who it is.
Yeah, that, and then so like it's always cool to see those kind of when the people that get honored with awards. But yeah, it's pretty boring in terms of just like the show itself. I mean, it's cool to see all those people in the same room together, but at the end of the day, it's an award show and it's way too long. They're always way too long.
I just felt like the nominees were boring this year. Like no offense to them, but like, okay, best play. Best play was the Saquon Barkley reverse hurdle, which great play. Go back and watch it. That's a 12-yard run. Tyrese Halliburton buzzer beater to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 1. They didn't win that series. Now, there was a soccer goal from the U.S. women's team in a big moment. I get it. The goals one we kind of see all the time.
Yeah.
And then Sabrina Ionescu hits a deep three for the New York Liberty. Like, those were your 4 contestants for top play. Like, I would have put Jalen Hurts' deep pass to begin the second half against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That pretty much put the game out of reach. Like, there's a lot of different ones I'm picking. I was just kind of underwhelmed with a lot of the nominations.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, next one here. You will watch the Open Championship this weekend. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I found out just now that there was an Open Championship this weekend. Okay, let me ask you this. Where is it taking place?
It is in Ireland.
Okay, well, they're good. I was like, if it's anywhere near the coast, like, it's going to be a complete washout.
It's the British Open.
Okay.
They call it the Open Championship.
Okay, but see, I know the British Open.
Yeah.
That's where the confusion lies.
Yes, they like to make sure that everyone calls it the Open Championship.
If I need a good Sunday afternoon nap or something like that.
There's no other sports on right now.
Right.
So I figured that there might be a chance
there's a chance. There's a chance if my schedule's freed up and I need a little afternoon chill time. There's a chance the Open Championship will be on my TV. Doubtful, though.
Yeah, I figured as much, but I thought, there might be a chance. But
Hunt led the show with Open Championship, I heard.
No, he actually didn't, surprisingly. We did talk
whole show tomorrow.
Yes,
Open.
Yeah, he'll probably talk about it tomorrow. He hadn't really talked about it today at all, and then yesterday we briefly talked about it because the tournament started at like 12 a.m. this morning because it's in Ireland. So we talked a little bit about it, but yeah, he will probably do a lot of it tomorrow. I will not be here tomorrow, so he won't have anyone to go back and forth with.
You don't work on Fridays, do you?
I do.
You're just out. Every time you're off, it's Friday.
Well, yeah, I do like to take off. If I'm going to take off, I usually try to do like a Thursday or Friday and then get the weekend added to it. So
I totally get it.
Yeah, usually I do. But anyways, moving on, going to a Coldplay concert with your HR manager. Take it or leave it.
So I saw this video. I'm going to leave it because judging by both of their reaction, there's a chance that both of those individuals are married.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave that. Like a lot of people are saying, oh man, it's unfortunate that they were caught on camera, hanging out, loving on one another. And my response is, you went to a Coldplay concert. You ran into a lot of people. Like no camera on the big screen. How many people did you see walking in and out?
Yeah.
Like, first off, it's his HR lady, which, I mean, you're going to hook up with somebody at work. Can't really get in trouble if it's the HR lady. So,
well,
I mean,
he will
props
now.
to Andy on that one. Like, I'm giving him props for it being the HR lady. But, like, come on, man. And then he ducks. He ducks under the table.
Yeah.
She turns like nobody saw him. Like, oh, this just didn't happen. I'm leaving that.
I'm just thinking, like, would anyone have even noticed if they had played it normal?
That's
and
what
not,
I'm saying.
Because
like, okay,
what they were doing?
No offense. That dude's a billionaire. I would love to be a billionaire. I didn't really know who he was. You know what I mean? Like he's a tech CEO. If they just like wave on camera, turn away, like this isn't a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nobody's looking at that on the internet.
Yeah.
And her, like, she's just some lady that works for him.
Yes.
Like she's not even the CEO. Like, no, they made this a way bigger deal than it needed to be.
Yeah,
that's on them. So I'm leaving that.
Yes, they screwed that. They brought this upon themselves with the way they handled it. Obviously, don't do that in the first place, but still, they really didn't handle it
What Beck is saying, like, if you're gonna do this, be smart about it. That's Beck's advice to you.
Well, I did preface by saying it's not good to begin with, but. Anyways, last one real quick. Von Miller signing a one-year deal with the Commanders. Adam Schefter reports Miller will have at least 6 sacks this season. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it. If he plays all 17 games, like 6 for a player of his caliber.
6 for the.
That's what I'm saying. Even at his age, like 6 for him. Not a ton over a 17-game span. It depends on how healthy he is.
Yeah.
Like if we're getting 11, 12-game Von Miller, no. If we're getting 16, 17-game Von Miller, sure, 6 sacks, why not? Have at it, Von. Our guy Jaden, he needs a little bit of help. As good as that offense was, they need to shore up that defense a little bit. They were in some shootouts a lot of times. But,
this is.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, this is like it's a signing that will make headlines. I'm not sure that it's going to really put the Commanders over the top to be a Super Bowl team. But
6 sacks, if you can't
nice.
get 6 sacks, Vaughn,
he just needs to retire.
Right. What are we doing?
Exactly.
I'll take that for sure. All right. Well, that's going to do it for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Went by a lot quicker for me than it normally does. I guess that's what happens when you're only in here for about 10 minutes or so. Coming up the next 3 hours, Matthew Musso is technically going to be your host. Okay, you know how there's somebody on location and they're like, hey, back to the studio? Well, that's our guy, Matt Musso. They're going to have a lot of recorded interviews from Moscona out there at SEC Media Days as they are on the way. So Matt Musso, Matt Moscona, all of them coming your way. That's coming up here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.